Bridge Hotel 2005 World Jet Boat Marathon will be staged on rivers throughout central and north Otago, but the event begins and ends in Queenstown. The main sponsor of the event is the Bridge Hotel, located just 4 k's from Queenstown. The Bridge Hotel, with the view, complements the service. A huge field of 59 competitors, including top overseas talent, converged on Queenstown for the holy grail of jet boat racing. Among them, the hometown favourite, Jason Scott.
There's a lot of overseas boats here. There's a lot more competition than you guys are used to, perhaps, on your own rivers. How important is local knowledge?
Well, it's usually quite important, but like none of us have seen the rivers for the last month, and we're going into it pretty blind with the rivers being cut off to us. So, you know, they've been up there testing, and we haven't. So I think it's a pretty even field this time.
We've got big horsepower, but I think it's 910 k's. It's, you know, you could get a B class, C class boat winning it. You know, it's endurance, reliability. That's the biggest kick factor, I think.
They're saying that the river levels and the levels in the rivers are pretty low. Is that going to be a problem for you?
Oh no, low and clean. It's well defined. Whereas if they're up and dirty, it's very hard to see where the shallows are, how deep it is.
A lot of people are actually expecting the winner to come from Class A because the unlimited boats are maybe going to be taking a few too many risks at the front.
Yeah, that always happens. Those guys seem to push the envelope a bit. There's a lot of experience there. I think Neil Ross's game plan is always the best one. Sit there, finish every leg, and just that's the way you should play it. And don't push your gear too hard. It's a long marathon, 900 k's, and that last, our Clutha run, is going to be interesting. There's going to be some carnage on that river with equipment. That's what I think.
The first leg is a short 20k blast from Queenstown up the Shotover River to McGregor's Pit. A seeding leg to determine the start order for the main event of the day, Leg 2. The boats assemble in Queenstown Bay before launching headlong at speeds up to 90 miles an hour, taking them past holiday homes and on the Frankton arm of Lake Wakatipu. The lake's calm and the weather's fine as top Class B contender Ross Bailey sets out on the first of 17 legs. The boats leave the channel marker on their port side before the charge down the Shotover. Leading the way is unlimited class entrant Rob Pauley, but he's closely followed by former world and current New Zealand champion Neil Ross, who promises to be a threat to this year's title. Further afield, the lesser classes get underway. This is Canterbury's Mark Allen along with navigator Craig Moss competing in C-Class. We're back on board now with Ross Bailey and navigator Gavin Loy as they rocket under the Clutha Bridge. Followed by the next group, which includes Otago-based Alistair Hay in his unlimited class boat. Further down the river, the crowds keep close eyes on Rob Pauley, still leading Neil Ross as they cross under the Shotover Bridge. Just getting into the Shotover now is Ross Bailey. But the quickest on leg 1 would be Canadian Paddy Stratton. And just 3 seconds slower follow Canadian and 6 times unlimited world champ Spencer King. Hoping to contend A-class is Tiano's Bonner Anderson, who's already been caught by unlimited class speedster Jason Scott. And indeed, further down the leg at the entrance to the Shotover, it's Scott who's made the pass. Claiming the boast of fastest Kiwi is Neville Kelly, while Canada's Kerry Crawford claimed fastest in the B class. Daryl Hutton has made the switch from jet sprinting to river marathons, but quickly discovers it's not as easy as it looks. Here's how Daryl and navigator Gary Smith saw it from in the boat. At least, unlike in jet sprinting, they get to stay in the competition. A-class competitor Stephen Shering followed Hutton's example and lost out to hard-charging Alexandrian Gary Sutherland. A strong contender for B-Class is Winton's Garth McMaster, along with navigator Phil Sterling. Also looking promising in B-Class is Daniel Anderson and navigator Nev Sandilands. Spinning ashore at the same corner as Daryl Hutton and Stephen Shearing, Tony Evans and navigator Raymond Gadsby needed some spectator assistance to get going again. While Malcolm Jenkins' attempt at passing Phil Thompson sent him wide, allowing Thompson to regain his position. Rod Wright and navigator Lindsay Kane returned to marathoning after a year's layoff, while driver Johnny Shaw along with navigator Jeremy Bennett returned to the sport after a 4-year hiatus. Ultimate Tata's Ross Hamilton and Timaru's Barry Harrison spent 5 years racing in D-Class, 4th stepping up to B-Class.
And turn left into the shot over, that's where it all went wrong, huh?
That's where it all went wrong. We came in there a little bit too hot and, yeah, just it sort of came in and then it hooked around to the left a little bit more than we'd thought, and I tried to go around and keep going around.
It's not a good look on just the seeding run though, really, is it, Darren?
Yeah, well, I had to get my navigator wet right from the start, so he has a dry run from now on.
So where do you want to end up in this seeding race? I mean, you want to really start first?
Nah, definitely not. Somewhere around 10th, 15th, somewhere around there. That's where we want to be today.
Why? Keep an eye on the opposition?
Yeah, definitely. We'll just cruise past a couple of boats, see how they go on the way down the lake, and same this afternoon, hopefully.
This year's marathon was heavily impacted by the outbreak of the damaging Didimo weed in the upper Clutha and Waitaki Rivers, forcing changes to the schedule and a ban on pre-race testing, not to mention thorough decontamination procedures. The Waitaki River was declared safe though, and leg 2 would take the competitors 40 k's downstream from Kurau for a truer test of man and machine. Starting first is leg 1 victor Paddy Stratton, who again blitzes the field with a time 2 minutes faster than his closest competitor. Fellow countryman Spencer King started quick, but then disaster struck in the form of a blown piston. This is his second in a week, and with no spare engine or parts, the 6-time former world champ is forced to retire. This opened the door for competitors such as Christchurch's Andrew Stewart, though he struggled with the leg, running a full 7 minutes slower than Stratton. It wasn't Jason Scott's best performance either, managing only 4th in the unlimited class. Ross Bailey fared better, running through the rainbows to finish 2nd in B-Class. Back in C-Class, the big mover was Canterbury's Mark Allen. Here you can see him outpacing the sport jet of Lance Begbie, followed by Canada's Brian Freeland, also in a sports jet. Top Kiwi driver was Neil Ross, 2nd to Paddy Stratton in both overall placings and in A-Class. Daryl Hutton recovered from his first leg spin to stay in touch with a strong 3rd place for the leg in A-Class. Garth McMaster won the leg in B-Class, keeping the pressure on Canada's Kerry Crawford. James Murdoch kept in touch in B-Class, finishing 4th, followed by Daniel Anderson in 5th, although Anderson was over a minute further back. Chris Campbell overtook Spencer King at the top in unlimited class, while Paul Collings, in only his 7th race, finished a strong 2nd. Problems though for Wanganui's Pat Dillon and Steve Edmonds. Their A-class campaign over, while D-class's Duncan Storia shows that sometimes you don't have to be big, just keep on moving. Neville Kelly may look quick here, but he posted a time over 10 minutes slower than the leg's fastest time. While fellow unlimited class competitor Stuart Cridge was just a minute faster than Kelly. Now to see how that stacks up overall, and it's Paddy Stratton who's in charge. 32 minutes and 10 seconds total time, 2 minutes 11 ahead of Gore's Neil Ross in the overall standings. Chris Campbell leads the unlimited class, while Paddy Stratton the A-class leader and overall leader. B-class is controlled by Kerry Crawford. He's got just a 10-second lead though over Garth McMaster. Mark Allen leads C, Dave Howard D and Sam Strain the sports jet class.
Spencer's out. So you're leading the Canadians?
No, that's good. We come here to do that, but I hate to see somebody go out.
Do you think you can keep this sort of pace up? Will the boat last?
Yeah, it'll last. It's got Louis' AMS engine in there. He's built them for me since I started, and I think we'll be okay there. It's going to be up to us to keep ourselves going.
Already we've seen some casualties up there. Spencer didn't come through, Rob Pooley didn't come through. Some of the front runners, they're not happening.
Yeah, it's very early yet. We've got a long way to go.
Day 2 of the Goldbridge Hotel 2005 World Jet Boat Marathon saw the field compete again on the Waitaki River. This time the boats would head up the Waitaki from Oamaru to Kurau, which promises fast speeds and very few traps. Early off the start line was Canada's Kerry Crawford. Kerry, along with navigator Martin Evanson, ended up posting the quickest time in B-class by nearly 2 minutes. Quick at first was Day 1 leader Paddy Stratton, but he soon slowed to be overtaken by his closest rival, Neil Ross. Ross would go on to post the leg's fastest time. It would be a disaster though for Stratton ashore with engine failure, yet another Canadian out of the race. Good news for the Cantabrians though, likes of Andrew Stewart, who is posting consistent times in A-class, if not yet the quickest. Also proving consistent was B-class competitor James Murdoch, who was staying in touch with the leaders. His rival Garth McMaster was having an altogether different race. Watch as navigator Phil Sterling gives the thumbs up to Garth's plan to make a quick 180, fearing that they'd run out of water. On the way back, they passed Greymouth's Chris Campbell, who boldly goes where Garth had gone before. The only difference is that Campbell found an escape route and finished a whole minute ahead of McMaster. Further ahead and a lot faster than the lost boys behind them, Jason Scott was flying. But he wasn't fastest in the unlimited class. That honour went to Nelson's Rob Pooley, who passed at will to be over a minute clear of Scott. Running midfield in unlimited class, Paul Colling and navigator Phil Moody were still pressing hard. Sean Kelly was down on power but still managed to post a sub 30-minute time. Phil Thompson has been racing jet boats for nearly 20 years, although he admits to being more of a one-day specialist rather than a marathon runner. Watch here as Rod Wright, along with navigator Lindsay Kane, gives Stu Turner, who's behind, an indication of which side to pass. Even though it's a race, good boating manners always help. In B class, Phil Kiesanowski would run consistently in the top half of the 20-strong class field. For Canadians Dale Whiteside and navigator Kurt Hazlitt will be knocking on the door of the B class top 3 right through the marathon. Ross Bailey and navigator Gavin Loyal kept up the pace to finish third in B class for the leg, while Nigel Butterfield posted a respectable time in the unlimited class. Here he's passing A classes Rob Wright.
Neil, familiar position, you're leading.
Yes, well, we didn't exactly expect to be here. I think it's a case of everybody else has had problems and fallen off, unfortunately.
No, you still got plenty of pace down there for an A-class boat.
Yeah, we have. We've got plenty of pace. We're not using it all. We're trying to be conservative. Same rules as the last couple of years. Just pace ourselves, take it easy, and just keep in the race and just keep the maintenance up and keep an eye on everything.
Garth, yesterday a good run. Today maybe not so good up the river.
Yeah, we got a bit wee bit mismothered there coming up today in a couple of places, but we sort of went up a bit of a backtrack. And instead of sort of going right to the end of it, we just decided to board it and turn around and go back out into the main river, which might have lost us a couple of minutes, but we sort of played safe at this stage.
Daniel, this B class field, it's pretty hot. Everybody's still in it, and they're all going hard.
Yeah, it's really strong, and it's going to be some competition. So it's not like some of the bigger boats seem to be falling off, where B class is strong and it's hard work.
Kerry, you're the last one left standing for Canada.
Yeah, the teammates have had a little bit of grief. Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
Yep. Paddy was out on that rad, on that leg, spun a bearing.
I think I heard he wrecked the pump bearing. Yeah.
Yep. But he's going to be back this afternoon, but he can't win it overall.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
Did you have a good run up the river this time?
Yeah, we had a good run. We were out chasing alligators and crocodiles in the trees, but we made it back in the main channel and everything went well.
Leg 4 was the reverse of leg 3, which that means, yes, back down the Waitaki River. First off the mark was new overall and A-class leader Neil Ross. All very familiar territory for the experienced Ross, who's won this event before. Canada's Kerry Crawford would certainly keep the pressure on Ross, as well as give the camera helicopter a run for its money. And away from Gavin Lloyd, navigator for Ross Bailey, as they drive to another strong result, third in B class. Screaming past now is contemporary James Murdoch, second for this leg in B class. Jason Scott has another strong leg, placing second in the Unlimited. But again in that class, it's Rob Pauly who repeats his leg 3 victory to stay in strong contention for Unlimited class honours. Andrew Stewart plays second to Neil Ross in the A class. Now we get a chance to go up close with Stephen Price and navigator Brent Murdoch, who finished a highly respectable third in A class. Queenstown-based Stephen Lang runs in A class with a new Eagle hull and a new navigator, Andy Eagle Eye Cormack. Contemporary Stu Turner is a 15-year jet boating veteran. His best result came in 2003 when he and navigator Steve Hillier won the C class in the New Zealand Marathon before switching to A class the next year. Stephen Shearing's navigator is his brother Robert, who's running in his first ever jet boat marathon. Maintaining the flat-out pace typical of the Waitaki River is A-class competitor Lance Kerr. Also in A-class is Johnny Shaw, an experienced motocross rider. It's been 4 years though since he's been in competition on the water. Here Phil Thompson demonstrates the superior power of his Unlimited class boat overtaking the B-class boat at Kevin Hyde. You big bully, Phil. B-class's Noel Gray and navigator Dane Hobo Norman have clocked up over 20 years on the jet boat racing scene. Southland's Garth McMaster competed in jet sprinting before attempting his first marathon 6 years ago. Phil Kieznowski continues to post consistent, if not the fastest results in B-class. But the same could also be said for John and navigator Greg Bugler, who would run neck and neck with Kieznowski throughout the marathon. Relatively new to the sport is West Coast-based Sandy Cochran. In only his third year of racing, Daniel Anderson has compiled an impressive list of results, including second in B-class in last year's New Zealand Marathon. It's a family affair for the Hawke's Bay's Morrisons. Son Scott driving while dad Tony navigates. Meanwhile, a different Morrison, Aaron runs with navigator Dave Plymouth in a boat once owned by Jason Scott. So after 2 days of rapid river riding, Neil Ross leads overall, while Jason Scott leads the unlimited class. Looking at the other classes, Neil Ross, of course, in front in A, while Kerry Crawford leads in B class, second overall. Mark Allen leads the C class, Brendan Cameron the Ds, and the sports jets. It's Lance Begbie over Brian Freeland. A new day, a new river and a new schedule. Low water levels forced organisers to change from the Matukituki River near Wanaka to the faster and fuller Clutha River.
So what is going to be the plan for this river? I understand it's fairly flat out.
Oh, you're just going to have to try and keep your foot down and not take it off will be the thing. If you can do that, at least then you're not letting them stretch out anymore. But I'd say a few of the big boys, Jason and Rob Pooley, will be really hammering it down here and just trying to make everything they can out of it.
Must be quite an advantage being at the front now because you don't have those traffic issues. Some people were sort of saying they get a bit held up on the way down.
Yeah, that is dead right. We're trying to avoid the traffic if we can, and just looking forward to a clean run down here.
Do you know this river?
No, not at all.
Jason, Neil got a bit of a jump on everybody down on the way down the river yesterday.
Yeah, no, he's out there at the front driving hard, and it's pretty hard for us guys to pass a few boats and catch up at the moment.
We've lost a lot of mileage in the event. We've had a couple of legs of a rivers cancelled. We're on a new river today. Is this a fast river?
Definitely a fast river. Have to pull our heads in down the bottom of the rock garden, and for us, hopefully we can gain those couple extra placings, get a bit closer to Neil.
Competitors will now run a high-speed drag race, 42 k's from Roxburgh to Beaumont, then returning to Roxburgh for leg 6 in the afternoon. Overall leader Neil Ross extended his lead by posting the only sub-15-minute run of the day, the Rocky Rapids proving to be no hindrance. Kerry Crawford would certainly stay in touch with Ross, while Jason Scott, who you'll see here chasing down James Murdoch, would certainly use his extra power to an advantage. But it was Sean Kelly here chasing Daniel Anderson who posted the quickest time in the unlimited class, just 13 seconds shy of Neil Ross. James Murdoch led a tightly bunched group through the Beaumont Rapids, which proved to be no problem for Garth McMaster. It was a drag race too for Queenstown's Neville Kelly, placing 4th in Unlimited. Also from Queenstown, Shane Johnston and navigator Mark Lamond used to operate jet boats commercially before switching to the racing scene. The racing was tight through the rapids as Mike Rowe was chased here by fellow B-classer Gord Humphrey. The West Coast duo of Noel Gray and Dane Hobo Norman show how it's done, with their team named, perhaps appropriately, Psycho. We're on board now with A-class contender Bonner Anderson as he rides along the mighty big Clutha River. it's not always a smooth ride. Watch here as first Bonner goes through, followed by brother Daniel. A rough ride for Bonner. Now check out how Daniel does it. Rob Pooley and Daryl Hutton both make it past safely and just a little slower. The A-class contender Andrew Stewart keeps it steady and smooth. But no backing off for Stu Turner, and watch how close he gets to finding the opposite shore. Mark Cromie's spectator boat and our cameraman. Meanwhile, still in one piece, Daniel Anderson rejoins the marathon. John Derry and navigator Greg Bugler continued to post consistent, if not the quickest times in B class. Well, further back in the same class, Scott Morrison on the B-line boat was doing all he could to hold back the competition. Blenheim's Bryce Idians pushed hard, taking C-class honours for the leg.
Brotherly love. We chasing Bonner. We were quite close to him. We're almost side by side, and we come off the first pressure wave, motor cut out. At the second pressure wave, knifed up into the rocks. So it happened pretty quick. Gave us a hell of a fright, but we're here.
I says it was the rapids. Why didn't you slow down? You know, like it took us a wee while to catch him, and that was all good. But hey, it hurts when you're on those rocks.
You have to keep the speed up, but you have to pass people as well.
Yeah, exactly, and just try and pass as many as you can, but as safely as you can. And this river's a great help because it has some big, good long straights on it. But on the other hand, you've got a lot of boulders, it's just sneakers under the water that you're hard to see. So you just got to take a bit more precaution than normal, and it's different to the braided rivers.
How hard is it to pass people? I mean, how much time are you getting? How often are you getting held up?
Oh yeah. It always costs you to pass a boat because you've got their wave, their rooster, you've got to get over the wave, your boat shakes around, so you just pull it up and then just got to pick your time. And it's been good today, like all the boats have just pulled over, so it's good.
That was a bit of a drag race river, but you still put up a pretty good time.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. Yeah, we just took it real easy. The rapids were a lot rougher than I expected, and we just backed her off and took her easy.
Before this event started, did you think that on the third day you'd be leading it by this much?
Not in my wildest dreams.
Why?
Well, when you look at the guys that are here and the potential horsepower and the type of rivers we're running, I didn't think we'd be anywhere near the case or the pace. I thought if we're top 10 day 3, we'd be doing real good.
A dizzy view as the competitors prepare to charge back up the Clutha for leg 6, led by Neil Ross, who again is blazingly quick. Getting airborne but still firmly in charge in B class is Kerry Crawford, winning yet another leg. Jason Scott improved to take out the leg for the unlimited class. He got within sight of Crawford and bettered the Canadian's time by nearly a minute. Complete with a helicopter escort, Ross Bailey powers through the rapids, posting the third best time for the B class. Chris Campbell's ride may look rough, but his time in the Unlimited was second only to Jason Scott's. Rob Pauley looks set to keep his top spot in the Unlimited class, at least until a broken crankshaft left him high and dry. With the door open, fellow Unlimited class competitor Nigel Butterfield pressed hard, but could only manage 5th fastest. Trouble for Paul Collings, as he was forced to retire from the marathon completely. In B-Class, James Murdoch stayed in contention with a solid 4th place, navigating the rock-strewn waters with apparent ease. Canadian Gord Humphrey also kept the hammer down. Fellow Canuck Dale Whiteside runs the same hull and engine package as Humphrey, which may explain why their times were only 13 seconds apart for the leg. Blenheim's Bryce Idians powers through the rapids to win the leg for C-Class. Cantabrian Mark Allen follows behind to take 3rd place. Here Allen is being chased by the B-Class boat of Hamish Booth, who's clearly pushing hard. Possibly even too hard, although Booth would ultimately go on to finish both the leg and the marathon. Allen, meanwhile, just ploughed on. Also running consistently was Brendan Cameron, the dominator of D-Class. B-Class's Sandy Cochran posted a respectable sub-20-minute run. Tipton farmer Ken Buchanan pushed hard in the C-Class. Well, in the sports jets, Lance Begbie posted the fastest time for the leg. The fastest leg honours went to Andrew Stewart, besting Neil Ross by 7 seconds and Jason Scott by 4. So checking out the leaderboard after 3 days, and it's Gore's Neil Ross who leads the marathon. Kerry Crawford 2nd with Jason Scott from Queenstown 2 minutes back in 3rd. Jason Scott leads the unlimited class with Neil Ross in the A class. B class belongs to Kerry Crawford, the Canadian, with Mark Allen leading C, Brendan Cameron in D, and Lance Begbie in the sports jets. ...2004 was Neville Kelly's worst racing year, so it only seemed proper for a crowd to gather to witness the ceremonious demise of last year's boat. And yes, the Queenstown Council does have a budget for pothole repairs. Day 4 sees the competition move to the Dart River for 4 legs, the first of the braided rivers. With water levels in the region at record lows, the Dart would be the first true test for the crews. Though the Dart brought a new set of challenges, the initial results would be the same. Neil Ross was quickest by far, posting the only sub-14-minute time. Jason Scott, making the most of his home ground knowledge, kept up the pace in the unlimited class. With the spare engine in the boat, Rob Pauly cranked on, winning the stage by 10 seconds from Scott. He can't win the overall race, but he can win his class. Meanwhile, Garth McMaster ran quick in the B class, but it was James Murdoch who set the pace, running 15 seconds quicker than McMaster. Neville Kelly's new boat was quick enough for 3rd in the unlimited, while Paddy Stratton was even faster, though a long way back in the overall standings. Now, to understand what it's like to run a high-speed jet boat on a braided river, watch Alistair Hay as he and navigator Jeff Donaldson decide in seconds where they think the river goes. Here's the former D-Class boys, Ross Hamilton and Barry Harrison, now doing well in B-Class. This is the first marathon for Cantabrians Mark Agnew and navigator Gilbert Matravers. Canadian Dale Whiteside posted a respectable time in B-Class, but was charged down by the A-Classer Shane Johnston, albeit in a more powerful boat. Meanwhile, shown here behind Chris Campbell, Andrew Stewart was keeping within striking distance in Class A.
Jason, good run up the dart. You look like you pulled in a bit of time.
Yeah, not bad. We're right up Kerry's backside there now, so we're not going to get past him on these legs. If we do that all day, there's 2 minutes for us.
They say it's going to drop in the afternoon. Going to cause problems?
Oh, I wouldn't think so. I mean, if it drops a couple of inches, who cares? But no, I wouldn't think it will drop a hell of a lot.
Leg 8 is Leg 7, just reversed. The results, meanwhile, were about to be turned upside down. Neil Ross was flat out, just as he always is. But that soon came to a stop, suffering from what he termed unexplained component failure. In other words, his race was over. This opened the door for Jason Scott, who certainly let the chopper pilot know that he meant business. Scott had the pedal to the metal as he shot under the Dart River Bridge, just ahead of Garth McMaster, who took a unique racing line. But it doesn't pay to be too clever on a braided river. McMaster followed Scott, both running out of water. With 3 top contenders out, Andrew Stewart charged up the placings. Rob Hawley was also benefiting from others' misfortunes, although his Leg 6 retirement meant that under marathon rules he was ineligible for overall honours. James Murdoch was eligible though and ready to assume control of the event. Staying clear of his brother Bonner Anderson was another who could be placed back in contention. Chris Campbell kept in touch with the leaders by placing second in the unlimited class. Kerry Crawford struggled with a seized engine, knowing he had to finish before the cut-off time just to stay eligible for overall honours. He did it, but only just. Others weren't so lucky. Shane Johnston found the rocks, as did Neville Kelly. Also finding dry land, Nigel Butterfield. And Alistair Hay just didn't want to be left out. Open water must have looked like gold to Daniel Anderson. Well, Canadian Gord Humphrey would eventually also make it out safely. Mike Rowe kept up the pace, while with the carnage up ahead, Daryl Hutton was forced to take creative lines just to stay afloat. Mark Agnew would take the same route. While the scenery was spectacular, clearly the drivers had no time for sightseeing. Here, Bryce Etienne seems not to be driving on water at all. Scott Morrison took the same line as Garth Master, just not at quite the same speed. Stuart Critch went right where the others had gone left. Well, Phil Kiesanowski in B class was being caught by D class's Brendan Cameron, who posted a time over a minute faster in a smaller and supposedly slower boat. Southlander David Howe was doing his best to keep Cameron honest in D class. In the sports jet class, Cantabrian Ian Kermit Armstrong finished third, while fellow Cantabrian Lance Begbie took second. But leg honours went to Brian Freeland.
We've put in 12 months preparation into this and done everything we could do. We'd raced the motor for two hours before this event. Didn't pull it down, but done checks, done oil tests, done everything you can do, mixture checks, everything was spot on. I mean, we had done everything that was humanly possible. Obviously, it's some mechanical failure that something let go.
We come down the stream, past Neil, eased up on it. Worst thing we could ever done. Next minute we were in ponding area and we parked her up.
Were you alone in the park?
No, Garth followed us in, and he was good enough. He gave us a push and he told us to get on our way, and I think we've made the cut-off by about 1.5 minutes.
Carrie, you got some problems? It's a bit slow down the river.
Yeah, we lost an engine. It's seizing up. Seized up, just up by the bridge. Now the motor's toast.
Toast?
Yeah, we got it in just on plane.
So that's
it's toast. Yeah, we got a new motor in there now. We just changed it between legs.
Chris, lots of dramas on the dart. It's hard to tell on the times, but we figure you could be leading.
You know, if that's the case, you know, we just got to keep trucking and, you know, take a prize back to Graham. That'd be fantastic.
Do you reckon the boat can go the distance? We've seen mechanical problems, we've seen park-ups, 2 more runs at the dart.
Hey, you know, you never know. I mean, you know, it's unfortunate probably where we are through mechanical problems. But, you know, you see Neil parked up there. He's got his engines built by the same guys. It's his boat, you know. You never know.
The dart leg 9 being a repeat of leg 7 back up the river. Andrew Stewart revelled in his newfound position near the top, posting a very quick time of 14 minutes flat, the leg's second best. But leg honours would go to a rejuvenated Paddy Stratton, almost a minute faster than Stewart. Rob Pauly continued to shine in the unlimited class, just ahead of Jason Scott, who put some of his troubles behind him to have a good run. Just watch how Scott navigates this tricky braided river at full throttle. James Murdoch consolidated his position at the top of the leaderboard, second for the leg in Class B. Honours for B Class, though, would go to Garth McMaster, who was more careful to choose the right channels on this leg. Not pushing too hard was Kerry Crawford, happy to take it easy on his new motor installed just in time for this leg. We're on board now with Bonner Anderson as he approaches the entrance to the dart at about 80 miles an hour. Or he was. Check out the replay and see how the sport can punish even the slightest mistake. Anderson, though, was able to finish and still post a respectable time. Chris Campbell stayed quick, finishing 4th in Unlimited. Daryl Hutton played it safe to finish midfield in A Class. Malcolm Jenkins had to make do with only inches of water. Well, Johnny Shaw made up time in the dart's more open sections. as did the A-class boat of Stu Turner. Noel Gray and Dane Norman kept the pedal to the metal. Canada's Dale Whiteside had no problems posting third fastest time in B class. Fellow Canadian Mike Rowe only 4 seconds behind. Mark Allen bobbed and weaved to take out the leg for C class. Class rival Kim Buchanan drives alongside his son, navigator Stacey. Brendan Cameron continued his relentless march to victory in the D class. Fellow D-classer Duncan Storia gave our camera a close shave. Brian Freeland took out a 26-second win in the sports jets. But he was pushed hard by Lance Begbie. Welcome back to Deja Vu Day and it's leg 10, a repeat of leg 8. The same leg that had brought so much carnage, although Andrew Stewart so far has avoided those problems. As has Rob Pauley, who posted the fastest time. Paddy Stratton pressed hard, even passing Pauley. But soon he too would fall victim to the dart. Jason Scott was careful to avoid a repeat and still post second fastest in the Unlimited. Third fastest Unlimited bait was Neville Kelly. Here we watch him navigate the dart for an extended ride. Kerry Crawford was back at full pace with the new engine and was second fastest in B class. But honours for the Bees fell to James Murdoch, 22 seconds faster than the Canadian. Big Bad Bonner Anderson continued his run of consistently fast finishes in the A class. Distinctly slower and a lot more unstable was Nigel Butterfield. Even Class D leader Brendan Cameron wasn't immune to the dangers of the dart. While Hamish Booth adopted a more gentle parking method. And are you watching Mr. Hamilton as Brendan Cameron makes the recovery of the day? Who said you need 2 inches of water? This guy could jet boat on the Sahara. Johnny Shaw and navigator Jeremy Bennett have to make a split-second decision. And while they struggle, they ultimately prove successful and stay on the river. So the top 3 overall as we look at the leaderboard, and it's James Murdoch leading the marathon ahead of Andrew Stewart and Kerry Crawford, 2 Cantabrians ahead of the Canadian. Also of note is that James Murdoch is actually only in B class, but he's leading the marathon. Jason Scott leads the Unlimited race, Stewart in the A class, and there we are, James Murdoch leading B class and the marathon. The start of day 5 and one of the youngest competitors is also the overall leader.
When you started a long time ago, lots of days ago in Queenstown, did you ever think you'd be leading the World Championship?
Not probably at this stage, nah. I was hoping to be sort of in the top 5 or 6 by now, and sort of through some other people's misfortunes, seem to be out in front, but there's still a long way to go yet.
4 minutes behind now. Do you think you've actually got the pace to do it with the spare engine?
The engine's a little bit underpowered compared to our other one, but yeah, I think we can do it.
Day 5 means 4 legs of the Mataura, home river to a few brown trout and Jason Scott. But with water levels at record lows, the traps should be easy to spot, which on the Mataura means logs and trees that are usually hidden to the drivers. Despite being first overall, James Murdoch wasn't relaxing. He was fastest in Class B and second fastest overall. Gary Crawford's time was good, although he was a minute slower than Murdoch. Even more cautious, Andrew Stewart running 3 minutes slower still. This means he could lose his second overall placing to Crawford. Paddy Stratton was back on top of the A-class, though now it was only for show. Bod Anderson, though, was still in the running, and he responded with a strong second place in A-class. Jason Scott exploited his local knowledge to post the leg's fastest time. Well, Garth McMaster wasn't far behind, second in B-class. Rob Pauly ran second to Scott in the Unlimiteds despite his ragged style. If you thought that was bad, watch Neville Kelly. Chris Campbell pulled up with engine troubles, which meant he was out of contention for overall honours, though he could still contend the unlimited class. This opened the door for Nigel Butterfield, who finished a strong third on the leg. Daniel Anderson navigated the scenery with speed and consistency to stay in touch in B-class. OK, so it's not the smoothest corner, but Gary Sutherland was fast enough to take leg honours in C-class. And no surprises here, Brendan Cameron again fastest in D-class. Meanwhile, Brian Freeland continued his strong showing in the sports jets. A-class contender Malcolm Jenkins is a rangi or a farmer when he's on land and when he's got the time. He's been driving jet boats, you see, for 35 years and finished a strong 6th overall at the 1993 Worlds. Yes, last century. Tamanaki's Rob Coburn pushed hard but didn't have his best leg in the B-class. Well, Mark Allen finished a strong 2nd in C-class, chased here by the A-class boat of Stephen Shearing. And in jet boating, what goes up must come down, so leg 12 is leg 11 reversed, and James Murdoch picked up just where he left off, fastest again in Class B. Jason Scott quickest again, consolidating his position at the top of the unlimited class. Would the jet boat gods finally be looking down and smiling upon the young Jason? Like they were on Andrew Stewart, who posted a time just 3 seconds slower than Scott's. Canadian Paddy Stratton was a further 45 seconds adrift. Watch here as B-class driver Hamish Booth contends with the tree and log hazards typical of the Mataura. Paddles out are never a good sign as Lance Begbie and navigator Justin Pottsbury can only watch as the competition races by. Neville Cully steered some nice lines to claim third fastest leg time overall. Well, Kerry Crawford took different lines altogether, but was still quick, just 10 seconds slower than Cully. Now, for most people, this would be an adrenaline rush, maybe even terrifying, but not for Steve Hillier. Navigator for Stu Turner, for him, this is just another day at the office. Queenstowner Stephen Lang contests this year's marathon in a completely new boat. Fellow A-classer Lance Kerr posts similar times in an altogether different design. Speaking of different, check out Wanganui base Pat Dillon's lines.
This sort of event's pretty hard on gear, isn't it? I mean, that's 50, 60 k's, the boat's vibrating, it's thumping, it's pretty hard on it.
Absolutely, yep. We're all trying to make them go faster, and unfortunately that's what undoes half the field, is trying to go fast, you know. So to try and build an engine with a lot of horsepower that's going fast and then make it run for a whole week, which is 890 kilometres, pretty hard combination to get dead right. So we haven't got ours dead right, but we're still going. So
what is going to be the plan? Are you really seriously going to push, or are you just going to take what you can get?
Yeah, we're just out having a bit of fun now, pushing hard, see if we can get a couple of league wins, and that's about it, I think. We're still up there in Unlimited, and Rob charging behind us, so, you know, we'll hopefully salvage Unlimited title.
You can't win it overall, but this Unlimited class, bit of a battle between you and Jason.
Yeah, it always seems to be us two that end up doing it every time. I don't know why that is.
You must curse some of those problems you've had.
Yes, I think this was the year when we thought we were really prepared for everything, and one gets sick of hearing, oh, you know, that's racing, and gee, oh, that's bad luck. But
we're just having some fun, really.
And that's what it is for you, just fun. It's not, you're not going to take it seriously. You're not going to step up, you know, Class C next year, Class B the year after.
I was B once before. In that class there, you've got to be very competitive. It's the biggest field. A lot of money has to be spent if you really want to do it well. You need to be a checkbook racer. Lower down the D class, I mean, this motor here is only from the wreckers, $750. A few little mods from our little local mechanic and handiwork, and we're doing well in a 25-year-old boat.
Leg 13 runs the same course as 11, and once again Jason Scott is hard on the attack. But this time the best he could manage was third in the Unlimited class. Neville Cully's smooth approach meant he was 30 seconds faster than Scott and second in Unlimited. But no one could match the pace of Rob Pauley, although he was only 2 seconds faster than Cully. We're on board again now with Bonner Anderson, which usually means something interesting's about to happen, like, say, I don't know, running out of water. Third in A-class was a surprise finish, Malcolm Jenkins with navigator Matthew Reid alongside. Andrew Stewart maintained his position with a very fast time. He was second on the leg only to Paddy Stratton, who made it look oh so easy. Garth McMaster was quick enough for third in the B class, while James Murdoch's time kept him safely in the overall lead. It says an awful lot when you can run this wide on a corner and still take out B-class honours, as Kerry Crawford did. Now, just to prove they do exist, here's some of the smaller boats. Nelsonian Bruce Idians winning the leg in the C-class, Brendan Cameron, the seemingly perennial D-class winner, and finally Canadian Brian Freeland showing a nice line in the sports jet. Finishing a close second to Freeland was Ian Kermit Armstrong, who would press the Canadian hard throughout the marathon. And finally, a bird's eye view of David Howe and Anthony Robertson.
Are you really going to go for it in this leg?
No. Not on a river like this. This river's a dangerous river, you know, at the best of times, and you start pushing yourself and get out of your comfort zone a wee bit, and then, you know, I'll be sitting down there in the willows and you'll be talking to me about what an idiot I've made of myself.
If only he knew. Leg 14 runs the same course as leg 12, and as the fourth leg on the same river, you would think the drivers would know every last twist and turn. Well, tell that to Andrew Stewart. The dangerous position of his crash boat in the turn meant the leg would have to be red flagged for everyone, essentially eliminating one leg from the marathon. The good news is no one was hurt, just pride dented, especially considering what Stewart had said just before the leg.
We come into that corner, which had a shelf basically running down the centre of the current, so the initial plan was to cut the corner, and then I saw the shelf, so that forced me to stay on the right hand side where the deep water was. So we ran round there, but we had too much speed on. As we got most of the way around the corner, the boat just did a wee hop and just caught the logs on the right. Rode up onto the logs, water rolled in over the back, and down she went.
So with Stewart thinking his race was over, this is how it stood at the end of day 5. He was actually third overall behind Kerry Crawford and James Murdoch. Jason Scott led the unlimited class, with Andrew Stewart at this stage still leading Class A. James Murdoch in charge in the B class, Mark Allen in C, Brendan Cameron in D class, and Canada's Brian Freeland leading the sports jet from Lance Begbie. But the big question is, can Andrew Stewart rejoin the race? After a crash like this, the last boat anyone expected to see was Andrew Stewart's, but here he is.
How did you manage this?
We started with a group of guys on last Saturday with a tight 5. Last night we probably had a tight 20 guys sweating all over the boat. They've just pulled the motor out, fixed it up a wee bit, and we're back, and we'll see what happens.
Last day, James, not that far to go.
Nah, still a wee way to go. We've still sort of got a 100k leg, this leg, and then the shot over this afternoon, so I'll still be pushing pretty hard today.
That's a pretty small engine compared to some of the guys behind you that are going to be pushing you hard, you know. It's a long, fast river. Going to last?
Yeah, I think it can. Yep. No, I'm pretty confident the motor will hold on there. Yeah.
What about the driver?
I hope so. Yeah, hope so.
By far the longest leg of the marathon at 90 k's in length, leg 15 up the Clutha could easily decide the event. The main issues would be weight, fuel consumption and engine strain, which could prove problematic in the smaller classes. First to launch was James Murdoch, the leader by over 4 minutes. It would seem all he would have to do now was stay out of trouble. But whoever did that in the jet boat marathon? A broken flywheel just a few k's into the leg spelled doom for the young driver. That meant Andrew Stewart, who just hours ago thought his marathon was well and truly over, now had a real shot of winning it. But first you'd have to leapfrog Canadian Kerry Crawford, who, because of Murdoch's misfortune, now leads the overall standings. And it was a case of Canuck can do. Another Canadian, Paddy Stratton, also setting fast times, and he must be ruining his earlier bad luck. Meanwhile, Daniel Anderson was making a strong late charge in B class and made it through these rapids without incident. Rob Pauly continued his strong form, passing Anderson to take the fastest time in the unlimited class. Second fastest, Chris Campbell also took out the prize for best air. Neville Kelly's marathon went from bad to good, to bad again with alternator woes, although he was able to restart and finish the leg. No such luck for Jason Scott. He blew his engine and any chance at an overall placing. This opened the door for wily veteran Stuart Cridge, marking over 20 years' involvement in the sport of jet boating. Best air runner-up was Daryl Hutton for this bumpy ride. Canada's Dale Whiteside continued his consistent run. He would ultimately finish a highly respectable 5th in B class. Class rival John Derry would beat Whiteside on this leg, but he finished just behind the Canadian overall to take 6th in B class. Just behind Derry, Phil Kiesanowski shows nerves of steel as he threads the needle through the rapids. A-class driver Rod Wright looks fast until he's easily outpaced by the B-class boat of Gord Humphrey. Gary Sutherland powers through the rapids to take out C-class leg honours. Time now for more class battles. This is C-class's Bryce Idians being chased down by the A-class boat of Johnny Shaw. Idians did continue to perform well, contesting the seesaw battle in C-class where he ultimately finished 3rd. The sports jets, though, were going down to the wire, with Brian Freeland in the thick of the battle. Ian Armstrong would have to be content with 3rd. Runner-up to Brendan Cameron in D class was Southland's David Howe. Back in Unlimited, Nigel Butterfield had a bumpy ride. And watch as navigator Callum McKenzie uses his special air paddle technique to urge skipper Brendan Cameron through.
Where it basically sits now is you lead it by about 40 seconds. And you got 2 legs up the shot over. Do you know it very well?
I went up there once following somebody and I couldn't tell you which way to go. It's going to be interesting.
Boat upside down, boat fixed. Now you're in 2nd place, 40 seconds behind.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, really. We've been down, we've been up, and we've been down again, and we're coming back up. So,
do you know the shot over?
No, I've been up the shot over once, and that was 4 years ago.
So it comes down to this, one of the most famous rivers in jet boating, up and back the mighty shot over. That will decide the winner of the 2005 Jet Boat Marathon Championship. From Queenstown Bay to Edith Cavell Bridge and back, and there's only 28 seconds in it. Kerry Crawford starts strong and smooth, but stutters at the turn. Chasing hard, Andrew Stewart bounces a little, but looks faster. And he was. As they enter the shot over gorge, Stewart had caught right up to Crawford, cutting 26 seconds off his lead. He's now just 2 seconds behind. Leading the what if column again was Paddy Stratton, fastest on the leg. Rob Pooley finished a strong 2nd on the leg to maintain his lead in the Unlimited. Remember, he's out of the overall running. Neville Kelly took some consolation by winning the leg in his class. Chris Campbell decided that the quickest way between 2 points was indeed a straight line. While Jason Scott's finish was a bit more unorthodox. In the lower classes, Gary Sutherland would claim overall victory for C-Class. D-Class overall was dominated by Brendan Cameron, who claimed victory by over an hour. But the sports jet class was nearly as close as overall honours. Cantabrian Lance Begbie finished a mere 39 seconds behind the winner, Canadian Brian Freeland. And this after over 7 hours of racing. We're on board now with Bonner Anderson, but this time nothing's going to go wrong. We're just showing you what it's like to thread a needle at jet speed. Well, driver Kevin Hyde is a jet boat rookie. Navigator Maurice McDowell more than compensates. He has over 20 years of experience. Driver Shane Johnston and navigator Mark Lamont finished strong for the leg, and so they should. They're based in Queenstown. John Derry and navigator Greg Bugler also finished strong. While Gary Sutherland continued his march to victory in the C-Class. While Rob Coburn would end up midfield, precisely 10th out of 20 boats in B-Class. But sometimes in a setting like this, just being there seems to be enough. So after 6 days, there's nothing in it. Just one leg to decide it all. And Crawford launches first, with Stewart in pursuit. It's quickly obvious that Stewart has the better speed. Like something out of a James Bond movie, they chase each other down the river. As the boats leave the shot over and hit the cutter, though, you can see just how close they are. Now, while Stewart's behind, remember he started 30 seconds behind Crawford. Out into Queenstown Bay, and the more powerful A-Class boat of Andrew Stewart is too much for the smaller B-Class of Kerry Crawford. Now all Stewart has to do is put the foot down to cruise home to overall at A-Class victory. Congratulations Cantabrian Andrew Stewart and navigator Dan Lysahe, your overall World Jet Boat Champions for 2005.
I don't know what to say. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, you know. It's been ups and downs, and it's looking like the rules may have just worked in our favour. And I mean, you know, that's all we've asked, is that the rules decide how it all turns out. So we'll just wait and see.
Well, I just mainly concentrating on winning B, and if overall happened, it happened. We got to win B class. That's what we came over for. No intentions, or didn't think we had a chance at overall. That's the way it turned out. We sort of did. But didn't want to jeopardize B by doing something stupid by stuffing it in the lake, which we just about did.
5 hours, 17 minutes and 32 seconds. That's how long it took Andrew Stewart from Canterbury to become the 2005 Jet Boat World Champion. 26 seconds faster than Kerry Crawford from Canada. Bonner Anderson from Te Anau third. Class victories to Rob Pauley, Andrew Stewart and Kerry Crawford, of course, Gary Sutherland, Brendan Cameron and Canada's Brian Freeland.